zero-day vulnerabilities in iOS and macOS. The tech giant has reportedly sent unexpected iOS and macOS updates that patch zero-day vulnerabilities, according to the most recent Apple advisory. The weaknesses in WebKit and the system kernel allowed arbitrary code execution privileges when they were exploited. A researcher who wishes to remain anonymous noticed both flaws and informed Apple of them. The first of these is specifically a Mac OS X and iOS kernel out-of-bounds write issue. According to Apple, the issue might allow an application with kernel access to run arbitrary code on the vulnerable devices. The second vulnerability, CVE-2022-32894, affected WebKit, the browser engine powering Safari, Mail, and other apps on Apple devices. Apple also described it as an out-of-bounds write vulnerability allowing arbitrary code execution upon digesting content created maliciously. Apple said that both vulnerabilities had been fixed using better bound checks. However, it also acknowledged that the faults were being actively exploited in the wild. With macOS Monterey 12.5.1, iOS 15.6.1, and iPadOS 15.6.1, the tech giant published the patches for the latter iOS devices up to and including the iPhone 6s, iPad Pro, all models, iPad 5th generation and later, iPad Air 2 and later, iPad Mini 4 and later, and iPod Touch 7th generation are all eligible for this upgrade. To avoid risks, users should update the software on their own devices. For the time being, Apple hasn't clarified the degree of exploitation for either vulnerability or the scope of the attacks. Apple patched zero-day vulnerabilities with iOS 15.3 and iOS 15.3.1 earlier this year. As a result, the most recent update increases this year's list of emergency software releases for Apple devices.